Welcome to Paranormal Chat with Black Hills Paranormal Investigations. We are your guides into the shadows, chasing ghosts, uncovering secrets, and capturing evidence from the other side. From haunted locations to mind-blowing stories and the gear that lights up the dark, join the team as we dive deep into the unknown. Grab your flashlight, turn up the volume. This is where the real hunt begins. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Paranormal Chats with Black Hills Paranormal Investigations. We're here with a really exciting episode for you guys, and we hope you enjoy it. So we're going to talk about a little bit about maybe why spiritual matters in the whole paranormal world. There's a lot of people, most people think, paranormal equals ghosts, but also other cultures and religions worldwide believe spirits linger for different reasons. So maybe we can figure some of that out, which is interesting. So we're going to go beyond the EMF spikes, if you will, and we're going to ask, are we connecting with actual souls? So let's dive into this. I think we should start out by maybe sharing some like personal beliefs, maybe about what the spirits are. Do you believe that these are human spirits? Do you think they're angelic, residual energy, or maybe are some of us still figuring it out? So, Mo, why don't you start? Yeah.
Okay, way back in the Stone Age, I was a skeptic. I didn't believe in any of this, right? And over the years, I've come to believe in there is something beyond us. Now, what it is, I don't know yet. But it does seem like you hit it on the head, like there's residual haunts and there's intelligent haunts, and there's also something called elementals that maybe we'll touch on, maybe we won't, that are they're earth spirits or whatever, and they've never been human before. So they just act wherever. And I think a lot of those are what people describe as demons and shit. Because these things, they don't know good and bad. Everything is just a gray area for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's cool. Leann, what are your thoughts?
Um, I have also been a skeptic, but I'm also a believer. I believe in the unknown, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
We've come across too many things to
Right.
not believe in something. What it is exactly, though, I'm with Mo. What it is exactly, I don't know. My personal experience. Um, I've been a believer. My rods have made me a believer just because, and I know it's just silly, but I'm stuck on those rods. But something does communicate. I don't know what it is. I really wish we could have the answer when we ask the question, what's your name? Who are you? Where'd you come from? I mean, we have so many questions for whoever's there. But there's somebody there. They're responding, to all of our equipment. So there's something, and I believe there are human beings attached to a lot of them because we ask specific questions and we'll get answers. So I have to believe that they're out there, where they came from, why they're there. I don't, there's so many questions, but I believe.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, real quick. When Leanne says rods, she's talking about dowsing rods.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. At some point, you're just going to all know exactly what I'm talking about every time I say the
I
rods.
know. There you
And
go.
not my husband, because my husband is Rodney, and we call him Rod, and so I'm not really talking
Right.
about him either.
I that didn't even click, but
Uh-uh.
now it does. That's funny.
Yeah, now you
Now
will
it
never
does.
be able to
That's
unhear that.
now
I know,
next
I'm
time
so
I see
sorry.
him, I'm gonna be like,
Hey, Rods.
hey
Rod.
Rods.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Ba-dum-bum.
I love it. I love it. Zach, what do you think, dude?
I think I think there's a lot out there as far as like energy goes. Um, it's hard for me to say like pinpoint if it's a person or like what it is. You know, because you get that feeling sometimes like something's watching you, but it's also like sometimes you just get like a good feeling. So for me, I've got to kind of, I put both those kind of together. I'm like, if something's watching me, is it somebody? Is it something? But it's definitely, you can always tell it's like something beyond you, which I think is kind of where I lie with it, is I still have little experience with it, just life experiences, but I think that it's hard to say which way I lean with it, I suppose. I think I kind of believe in it
Sure.
all. I mean, that I probably it sounds like, oh, it just believes in everything. So, but it's kind of, I feel like there's a lot out there that we just have no idea what is
Yeah,
even going on.
sure. Yeah. I think,
And you brought up a
I,
good point real quick.
yeah,
You said watchers. Watchers are a type of entity. They stand outside of where you're investigating and whatnot, and they all they do is watch. They might make you feel uncomfortable, like something's watching you, but that's all they do is they just watch.
yeah, yeah, I think that's good. What do you think?
I'm a definite believer, of course. But I think for me, the unknown part is connecting it to when we experience something or if a piece of equipment goes off, is that what I believe in? So it's making that connection to what could it be? It's the what that's the unknown for me. But yeah, definitely a believer in like the human spirits that they exist. I'm also on team not everything's unicorn and rainbows, and I
Right,
believe the dark ones are out there, the negative ones are out there.
right,
Yeah, so that's kind of where I lie with that.
Yeah. And I kind of agree with everything, for me, it makes the most sense in my brain because everything has a vibrational frequency. And
right.
um, specifically when somebody leaves, in my own, this is kind of how it makes sense to me. Whenever somebody leaves the planet, their their physical energy leaves a blueprint wherever they have been. um, for whatever reason. So in that case, it could be a residual haunting, right? If there's a blueprint of
Right,
somebody there that
right,
this was their space, they loved this space, and they felt good being there. So you're gonna feel what they felt in that blueprint. So I think that's key, and I think a lot of them could have been human spirits. They could be. Uh, you know, passed on and don't know they've passed on, like sudden accidents, something like that, and they're confused and don't know what's happening, and they're kind of stuck on this plane of existence that is kind of between here and wherever they're gonna go. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I kind of agree with all that, but I also agree that not everything that makes a sound is paranormal or a spirit. I mean, there's sometimes
exactly.
a logical explanation for something, and but I believe in both sides. And I like to try to play, if I can, the fence on it, maybe before we make a concrete decision, oh yeah, this is this, let's see if there was a logical explanation for something. Like if there was a thud, let's go see if we can find the thud and what made that thud. And if it's something that flew off a shelf that shouldn't have flown off a shelf, then we've got to maybe think about, you know what I mean? Something else had the energy to do something like that. So, yeah, I think
Right.
that's interesting.
But also, like when you said, it leaves a blueprint, and you were talking about energy. Okay, when we were in high school or junior high or whatever, energy cannot be created nor can it be destroyed. Okay, we know that our brains and our hearts work on electrical conductivity, right? So when you pass on, where does that little bit of energy go? Does it go into the cosmos or does it stay as a little ball?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Very
Something to think.
interesting.
Yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, definitely makes you really ponder a lot of things
Right.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, and especially because that's like the science. That's the science. Energy can't be created nor destroyed.
Yeah.
Right.
And you get in our side of it. It's hard to definitively say certain things. Like science can. You can prove it over and over again. That's kind of the struggle with what we do. It's kind of hard to do over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's where some of the disbelief comes from. But I think Mo hit it on the head with that. We can't destroy nor create energy, so it's got to be transferred somewhere, some way,
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I also think another interesting kind of aspect to look at too, and it's probably a conversation for another time, but I think so often we look at paranormal activity or paranormal phenomena as these external entities, like here's a person, here's a house, but here's this thing, whether it's human, non-human, demon, angel, but it's a separate entity. But it's fascinating kind of looking into some of the research that you see coming out where people are looking at poltergeist activity where it's almost like a projection of like someone's own like intense psychic energy
Right.
causing this to
Right.
manifest within a space.
yeah.
So it's not
Right.
it's not this entity, it's like this, I don't even know how you would
Yeah.
explain that, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Kind of,
interesting.
kind of like that you can move a mountain with your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just you
Here's
think,
this is a wild tangent, and have you ever seen have you ever seen the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson?
I,
And I think was it Morgan Freeman maybe in it?
yeah,
No,
part of it,
So
I have not seen
it's
it.
a very intriguing movie. You should actually go watch it
yeah,
because it talks about, we have that theory we always hear we only use 10% of our brains. And
Right.
that's never really sat well with me. Like, where's the other 90%? And
Right.
what can we do with the other 90%? And this movie is really fascinating to me, talking about what happens if we start using 100% of our brain.
Hmm.
Just go watch it. It's very interesting. For anybody watching this video, if you haven't seen Lucy, you should go watch it because it is really interesting and it makes you wonder, like, where does where do these people get these ideas for these
oh,
things? You know what I mean? Like, it's coming from somewhere, right?
Right.
I'm in
So
such agreement. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I feel that way with all of these movies. Where do you come up with this? That you can't, like, yeah, people come up with things, but like, come on,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's almost like this is what makes sense to me, and it probably isn't true, but this is how I like to think about it. It's coming from somewhere. So if this person suddenly gets this idea, think about Game of Thrones, for instance.
Right.
Where did he get the idea to write this world, right? It came from some place
Mm-hmm.
in the ether. Maybe it came from the library, right? In the ether. The what is why can't I think of it?
The Akashic
The
records.
Akashic records. Thank you. Why can't I think of that?
Thank you.
Does it come from the Akashic records? Does it come from a past life? Does it, you know what I mean? It's just all these really
Right.
interesting things. So this Lucy movie, like, did did this happen? Like, is this something that we were never aware of and this was a past previous life and existence on this planet? It's just really interesting. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Maybe we'll do an entire episode on this weird stuff that comes from the
I
ether.
have I do have one movie, and it has everything to do with the paranormal. It was written and performed in the 1960s. It's called the Stone Tape Theory,
Oh.
and it's
Interesting.
about how moving water and stones and stuff conduct electrical, stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway,
Okay.
that was a weird, wild tangent, and it'd be really interesting to do an entire episode on that. Yeah. If anybody wants us to do an episode, comment on the comments in here, and we'll do we'll do an episode about all the weird stuff that we think
Weird,
movies are
weird stuff. Yeah.
coming from. Yeah. So we love weird stuff. Okay. Anyway, I have another addition to kind of this whole thing we're talking about here. So has there ever been an investigation that has like shifted your spiritual views at all? Like, you were believing in everything and you went the other way, or you were not believing and you went this way. I'm just wondering, just curious. And you could share, you don't have to share, but I mean, I could share mine. I know uh, that I've gone through this wild spiritual revelation in the past 10 years. And being kind of part of the paranormal team has even more swayed my spiritual, because this is controversial. I like the word spiritual versus religious. That's just
Right.
me.
Right.
I'm a spiritual person. I don't like the word religion. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But so there are a lot of interesting things that have come that I've learned, and researched that have kind of already skewed that. And I think one of the biggest things is when I saw my first full body apparition. It was one of those things that kind of went tick, right? And kind of
Right.
tick the meter to that side. And I'm like, well, I need to look into this maybe a little bit more and understand a little bit more of that. So I think definitely a lot of what we've done already has skewed my spiritual side in one direction versus
Right.
where it was. Yeah. Anybody else have that
Yeah.
idea, or is it
I
just me?
think for me, and Leann was there. We were doing that house in Rapid on 8th Street that had the
Mm.
shadow figure. And when we were doing the walkthrough, it was just me and Leann, and she was going into a corner and we're taking pictures, and she's not in the picture. And it was weird because you see her, like you see her on the what do you call it, the viewfinder,
Yeah.
and then you
Mhm.
take the picture and there wasn't anybody there. And then when we went in to investigate, we captured a shadow figure. And I think that kind of swayed me because I was like, there's something more to this because we're picking this stuff up and she's not showing up on camera. Why? Why
Yeah.
is that?
That's interesting. Yeah. Really interesting.
That was a head scratcher for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know that I've had an investigation per se that has done one thing or another for me.
Yeah.
Again, so for me, a lot of this, your beliefs are one thing, but your feelings
Hmm.
are something that play a lot into this. And
Oh yeah.
for the rest of you, well, maybe Nan not as much. Maybe Nan and I are kind of more on the same plane as far as being sensitive. Um, so I want to be um on the other side of that. I want to be able to feel that. I want to be able to just have those sensations and but I don't. But that doesn't mean that I haven't had things happen that just go, wow, yeah, I think that is in my head, not in my whole body. I didn't have that sense, but I want to have it. And maybe I tried too hard. I don't know.
You
um,
you might. You might. You very
it
well
takes,
could.
but yeah, I haven't, there wasn't one particular thing. It's just been kind of evolved because we've just been doing it for so long. So, because who were we talking? I was talking to somebody the other day and they were asking me about investigating oh no, it was when we were doing the last investigation and Sarah, I'm sorry, that was her name, right?
I
Sarah?
think so.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And she was like, so asking questions about, so what's been the most scary thing or whatever. And I'm like,
Right.
I said, I don't know, I'm kind of numb to it now. I mean, everything is
Right.
things just happen every single place we go.
Yeah.
Nothing ever is really like, wow, I haven't gotten to that for a long time where something big has
Right.
happened, so everything it just seems so normal to me for things to happen.
Right. And
That's
I
fair.
think I think
Here, I have to tell you this. My printer is going off and on. We're talking here. It's never done that before. I'm obviously not printing. There's nothing, nobody else is printing. And my
Interesting.
printer keeps going off and on.
Huh.
maybe it's trying to tell you something.
I know. I don't know. It's the oddest
You
thing, but I
you're
just have
getting a
to
message from the future.
see. I'm not
Yeah.
sensitive, but this
Trigger
thing.
ITC.
Every things know that I need signs. I need to be able to see it. So things do this for me so that I can see things happen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure. And it's one of those things that even now, like for me, I start paying attention to those things more. Like I
Yeah.
never really did whatever. I'm like, ah, whatever, blah, blah,
And
blah.
I think
But
that's the key.
yeah, but being now like as with all this stuff we've experienced now, like it's shifted so that now I pay attention to those things because
Yep.
I don't necessarily always believe that they're in coincidences.
Right.
Like we say something happens. Oh, like there's just this
Right.
weird, but I don't know. But I just start paying attention to those things. So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's it, Leanne. Maybe the printer is telling you something.
Yeah. That was weird.
But what along with what you were saying, me and Casey and Zach do this all the time. When you go, like, okay, let's say we're investigating like a residence, right? And you go into like a certain room, and all of a sudden it's super heavy. And I'll walk in, and I'll call one of the guys and say, "Hey, go in there and tell me what you feel." See, I'm sure you've ran into that.
No.
Really?
No. Like you've asked me to do that
I
many
know.
times.
Right.
I honestly no. Like a couple times something has made me feel a little different, but nothing, but like no. No. I literally a
Well,
rock. Yeah, I'm telling you. It's the craziest thing.
no,
Wild.
you're not a rock.
That's
It
See?
just
wild.
takes a while.
Yeah.
I was worried that like I wasn't picking up on things like I should, but hearing Leanne say that she doesn't pick up on that stuff at all is kind of not good in like a bad for you, but in a good way for me that it's like okay maybe I am a little in tune with it. I just got to find that tune, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah, you are. I watch, I'm jealous because I would love to be where you are with, I mean, just in the things that we've done, and it hasn't been that many.
Yeah.
But you definitely have something.
Well, I feel like for me, it's odd, and I don't know. It's just it's how I feel with it. I'm trying to work on it, but it's not working the way I want it to. But I feel like I'm looking in tinted windows when I'm like have these feelings or get these things because I can kind of see it there and kind of feel what's going on, but it's like it's blurred and I'm looking through a window. I'm not in there yet, and I need to figure out how to
Yeah.
get like
Mhm.
through that kind of blurred but yeah, that's at least for me that's how it goes. So I'm glad to hear that maybe I do have a little hum or something. I don't know, a little vibration tuning or something.
I, I think I think what we're talking about is stemming like from Leanne. I think she wants stuff to happen so bad that her mind's clouded.
And that
You have to
I
be,
do. I
yeah,
think that's the case.
right.
And then you
And
guys
it
are
could
like,
be.
"Oh, did you feel that? Did you see that?" I'm like, "Oh, see, I could see." Yeah. Yep, nope. And then it's like, "Nope, nope, nothing.
I hear
Nothing.
that.
Poke me with a pin."
Or someone's like, "Do you guys see that man standing over there?" And I'm like, "I just see the wall.
Yep,
Just
it's a
just the
lot.
wall."
So I know that when something happens, you will all know it.
Uh-huh.
When that hits me,
Oh
That
you're
yeah.
gonna
Oh
know.
yeah.
listen,
Because
that's the
Leanne's gonna
thing.
be fucking
If
shaking and shit.
Going to
if
do the happy dance.
if I suddenly see Leanne go flush and run,
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
running.
probably
I'm
gonna
running.
follow
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do it.
because I love investigating with you, Leanne, because we'll be like, did you hear that? And I know you hear things because we've heard things together.
Yep.
And then
Right.
you and I both look at each other and we go there. Like,
Yep.
so if I said, did you hear that? And you're like, yeah, I got a really bad feeling, and you go the other way, I'm probably gonna follow you the other direction.
Yeah.
Because that's the moment I know, uh-oh, wait a
Oh, she
second,
got
Leanne
it.
actually felt that.
No, not
Exactly.
not me. I'll go the opposite way. I'll go around the long way
Yeah.
just like I
Yeah.
did at the Adams house.
Yeah.
Right?
That's very true. That is, I don't think we shared that story in the last episode. Oh, well.
Uh,
That was funny. That was really funny. Anyway,
That was funny.
that was good. Yeah. Nan, you were gonna say something else,
Oh,
weren't
no,
you?
that was it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any experiences like that? That
Not
kind of
not really that have like shifted, like paradigm shifted for me. I think a lot of it just kind of like builds on the validation of what I already believe. But yeah, I don't think I probably haven't been doing this long enough to have had something that will like, whoa, like shifted my
Yeah.
worldview a bit. But
Sure.
again, I guess I'm more on the believing side of it. So I have to
Yeah.
like keep myself in check to be like, okay, let's calm down.
Yeah.
Let's look at this rationally instead of just like, yeah.
Sure. That's fair.
So I do have to say, so um my the one thing that and I'll go back to this. The one thing that did really rock my world wasn't my world that got rocked, it was Mo's. And when like you were talking, when he had the experience with that entity that was standing right beside him and he looked and he fell backwards, and that rocking his world rocked my world
Sure.
because it was I knew that it was right there, and he would not have reacted that way if something hadn't been in his face.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
so that kind of, I just shared it.
Yeah. No, that's good. Interesting. Yeah. Uh, yeah, here's an interesting question. So, and we can all answer this differently, but I know we have a group thing that we do after every investigation, but I'm curious to hear
okay.
your thoughts about some of this other stuff. Does anybody have like these rituals of like, I don't know, praying, saging, whatever it might be before, during an investigation, like for protection? Is there something you wear? Like, I will wear a Benedict bracelet. I have a Benedict necklace, those types of things. Is there anything that you guys like do that for protection? Yeah, Mo has his own. Yeah.
I wear these all the time.
Yeah.
But no, going into an investigation, because I'm afraid that if I protect myself or whatever, say a prayer or what have you, that I'm not going to be able to interact. I won't be like the investigator that I am.
Yeah, true. And I agree with that 100%. Like a lot, like I've kind of done some experiments where now I purposely don't go in with my Benedict bracelet or my Benedict necklace on because I've had some experience where I will get nothing if I have both protection on. And it was interesting because I took them off, right? And we did an investigation and then things started happening. And so I was like, that's really interesting to me that
Mhm.
I had this
Wow.
protection on and I had this shield so nothing could penetrate it. You know what I mean? Nothing. And so
Right.
that's just really interesting. That was for me. You know what I mean? That was just
Mhm.
really, really
Right. But
fascinating
I'm
research
glad
there.
you said that, because maybe our next investigation, I'll take these off
Yeah.
and
So,
see what happens.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Leanne,
Yeah.
what about you?
If I get all weird and start like, yeah, yeah, I know you guys will tackle me and stuff, so it's all
Oh,
good.
yeah. We'll take you down. Don't worry.
Um,
We won't tell Mo about the taser we have in our equipment.
Right.
Just kidding.
so for me, no, no, and no. Nope. I know prior to, because when before I left and was gone for that little bit, we didn't do anything at all. We just went in
No.
and we did our thing and we left.
Yep.
I think Danny started doing a little bit of stuff with you guys, and then you guys
Right.
started doing a lot more of it. You had just a lot of different things that you're doing. So when I came back, I'm more than happy to participate in it because again,
Better
I
be safe than sorry.
right, and
Right.
I want, go ahead, I'm the one who says, yeah, go ahead, come home with me, and then I'll end up bringing something that I didn't really want.
That's, yeah,
want.
huh?
So yeah, so it's fun to learn all of this other stuff that we didn't do before. I'm loving
Right.
it. I'm loving that part.
Right.
Zach, do you have any personal things that you do before or during?
Um, I can't say that I really do, you know. It's kind of just we do our thing after and just kind of see how it goes with every investigation. I think it's always a little different after. Sometimes you're really
Right.
like for me, sometimes I'm really wide awake after an investigation. Sometimes I'm just dead
Drained.
drain. I mean,
Right.
just dead
Yeah.
drain. And sometimes it's the ones you wouldn't think would take it out of you, and they do. And then the ones that you're like, man, that was a lot. You're like, well, let's do another at 3 in the morning. But yeah, for me, I think it's just kind of I see what happens, and if I feel like there's something there that tagged along, um, I just kind of tell it get on with itself.
Yeah.
Not welcome here or whatever,
Yeah.
and that,
Step off with your bad self.
yeah, but that's, you know, yeah.
Exactly.
What about you?
Me, I think I am in a place where I need to do some experimentation because I come from a place of doing entity release work. So I would go into these like full force shield and I
Oh,
think that's probably why maybe a lot wouldn't happen. Because again, when you do that kind of work, like you don't go into it lightly. Like you've got to be prepared. So then I go into the investigations like that. And then I'd be like, oh, nothing's really happening to me. So I think I've got to maybe like, because we actually, this amongst the team, the discussions kind of come up like maybe we're like it's like ghost repellent in a sense, so we're not
Right.
getting anything. So I think I need to work on trying to like pare it back but still stay protected, and then focus on again paying attention to what's happening during the investigation. So if we need to jump in and acknowledge something or approach it then, and then afterwards especially like okay, like cutting any cords, like making sure no
yeah.
hitchhikers are welcome.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Ghost repellent.
ghost repellent.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at the end of every investigation, what do we always do?
Smoke down.
Exactly.
Gotta do a smoke down.
And what we do for all everybody that's listening and whatnot is we take Palo Santo, light it, of course, and then you know,
Like
we
smoke
smudge each
cleansing.
other or ourselves,
Mhm.
and we say, nobody's allowed to follow us home,
Yeah.
and it seems to work.
Yeah,
I
setting
haven't had
setting setting the boundaries is super important.
right,
Specifically afterwards, doing all the chakras and you
right,
know all of that and saying you have no permission to come home with me. You must go back to where you came from.
right.
Yeah, is important.
But just a helpful little paranormal tip for our viewers: if you're with a group of people doing this, say in a parking garage at 3 a.m., you may get some weird looks from passersby.
The
That's how you know.
officers
Or
will definitely check on you.
yeah,
Yeah.
or if you're doing it on the sidewalk in a
And the cops
small
come by.
town and the police walk up and you're all huddled around a puff of smoke and they suddenly show up in the group and say, "Oh, it's you guys," and keep walking. It's fine. Because both of those situations happened to us. We had
Yes,
one person, we were all huddled around the back of a vehicle, and we're all huddled in a circle
in
doing
a
this.
parking garage.
We're going like this in the parking garage, and some girl, she walked past us, she clutched her bag to her front,
Right.
and she zipped right by. It was hilarious. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was funny. Yeah. And then the cops who we had, they stopped to talk to us for a little while after, as we were doing it. Yeah, oh, it's just you guys. They just kept going.
Right.
That was funny. That was really funny.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So smoke down, super important. Super important. We always do a smoke down. Yeah, got to.
And I think
And
on
we
that note,
affectionately call it a smoke down. I don't know what you'd call it for
Ah,
real.
I think like smoke cleansing
yeah.
is probably a safe.
I
Maybe.
like the smoke down. Oh no.
Right.
Smoke down is just a fun word to say. Smoke.
And I think
It
it's also
is.
good to note too, though, that like if you were ever in a place where maybe you couldn't have smoke or fire or something, I think even just that intention
Yeah.
is probably just something. It's better than probably
Something is better
nothing.
than nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean,
Exactly.
who knows what hitchhikers you could have got from somebody else who was there,
And I
or,
think,
you know what I mean?
yeah. And I think this is good for like anybody that's interested or belongs to a paranormal group is listening to us. Because I think a lot of people don't do this stuff. And then they go home and they wonder why, why am I hearing thumps and all kinds of shit trying to get in my house and all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they don't do that stuff.
Yeah. I agree. So super important for that. Yeah. Um, okay, now here's something else to talk about. I had these questions floating around, and maybe some viewers might want to know some of this because when we were doing some of the Adams House investigations, I know we've had some people ask these questions on some of these
Yes.
investigations. Um, like we had, for instance, this is a wild existential question. So this is a big question. We can narrow it down if we want to, but like, what happens when we die? Do is that do some spirits stay behind because they don't know where to go, or you know what I mean? It's just an interesting question. What do you guys think about that?
I think when you die, I think a lot of times spirit like you maybe these people they don't know they're dead, right? Or they might be afraid of what they're going to, like judgment or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times, like the stuff we run into, doesn't want to move on or it never moved on because of the judgment bullshit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I
But
mean? And
now, with that being said, not everybody is not going to be a ghost. I don't know why that is. It just is. And also, it doesn't matter how you died. Like people like always want to investigate places like where there's been horrible tragedies and stuff. When your odds of some, if you're getting something, sure, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the person or people that were involved in whatever horrific accident befell them.
So
yeah,
maybe I'm just gonna add a little bit to this, and this
yeah,
might sound like a complete just wild out there, but I think maybe the spiritual side of things might have to do a little bit with people's souls, because I think like some people's souls are older than others.
Oh yes,
oh, 100%.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of, there are a lot of people on this planet, who have been reincarnated multiple times if you believe in
right,
reincarnation. You know what I mean?
right,
And some people
Mhm.
believe in reincarnation and know that they've been on this planet 5 times. You know what I mean? And so they're an
right,
old soul. Their first time, they still have those connections throughout the generations. And so when I think it's really cool compliment when somebody says, you know what, you're an old soul. And I'm oh, thank you. Very, you know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
it's
right,
interesting. Yeah, absolutely. An old soul, 100%. Yeah.
And I wonder if, there's something to be said about that. Rather, like if you're an old soul, you kind of hang around after, passing on. Or maybe if that's like we're saying, you're a new soul, you don't know what's next. You don't know that you get another
right,
ride at this, you don't
Yeah.
know that maybe you're just like, what the hell? I just died for the first time, Because
Yeah.
and this might sound
you
terrible and we can,
right,
cut it or whatever, but like for me, I'm not like I don't want to die, but I'm very like if it happens, it happens. You can't stop it.
right,
Even with all the modern medicine and all of the things, you can't stop just the end date, or the end to be all. So
It's part of a cycle, right? There's no life without death. There's a
right,
cycle, right? It's the yin and the yang. There's got to be both. It's the
yeah,
duality of everything, right? There's life
right.
and death. There has to be. Because if there's just one, it throws everything out of balance and then everything is all messed up. So yeah, I mean that's just kind of part of the cycle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
That's
good way to
interesting.
put it.
I like that, Zach.
Mhm.
Nice. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, just like you, Casey, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that is why. Because if you believe in eternal life, for instance, right, that's going to screw up the yin and yang of everything.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. What were you going to say,
So,
Leanne?
well, so as you're talking in my head, so here so what happens to us when we die? And where do we go? What popped into my head was, it's interesting though that some feel that they need to let us know that they're here and they make thumps and they do this.
Mhm.
But
Right,
like Herman, well, we lovingly call him Herman. I don't know who he is, but when Danny came to the house, she said there was a man that was at our house and he kind of stays here. Well, I had no idea he was here, but he's here and he hangs out here apparently. And I've chatted with him. He doesn't seem to be around now, but he never let us know he was here particularly. So it's just funny how some of them are content at being quiet and they just kind of hang around and do whatever they're going to do, and others are like, "Hey, I'm over here. I want to make you scared, or I want to let you know I'm here, or whatever." That I don't. That has nothing to do with
Yeah.
really what we do when we die. But I just thought it's interesting that.
It is interesting.
So where do you go?
yeah,
What do you do when you die? I don't know, but some of them are really content. It seems like to just hang out there
Yeah.
and others are fighting and screaming, trying to get out. And it's just weird.
And that's kind of the thing, right? We don't know what happens to us when we die because we're all sitting here talking to you guys, right? So
right,
we can speculate about for a million years about this, but ultimately we won't find out until the day comes, right? So it's
right.
just one of those, and a really interesting and fascinating person is Dolores Cannon. If anybody's ever listened or read anything Dolores Cannon has, she started
Yep,
QHHT, which is this fascinating thing she does, right? Where she puts people into hypnosis and goes to previous lives and all these things. And she wrote a wonderful book called um what is that book called? Earth, the Second Wave or something.
A million
And
books.
she's written a million books, but there's a really fascinating book that I've read of hers. And she had all of these people under hypnosis who don't know each other miles away, right? And they all had this interesting similar story where their their body died, but their spirit transcended somewhere else and became light. So this is really interesting, and it's not just once, right? It's multiple, like not tens, but hundreds of people and more had the same exact experience. So it's an interesting sort of dynamic. We can speculate, but then all these people are having these same visions, right, in this hypnosis
Mhm.
state of becoming this light. So what does that mean for us, right? Are we we're I personally believe we're light beings, right? Made up of
right,
these fluorescent cells, right? And we came from somewhere, right? I,
right.
I personally don't believe in the whole evolution thing. That just never made sense to my brain. But it makes sense to me about reincarnation on this planet, like we've been here multiple times, because the interesting deja vu thing, right?
Mhm.
Right.
That's just a blip in time that we've already experienced before and we're remembering it. And it's just so anyway, it's just an interesting thing to think about all of these different things. Sorry. Yeah, that was a tangent.
It is.
No, it was interesting.
Yeah. Nan,
Yeah. Oh,
Nan.
my beliefs.
Yeah. What do you think?
Gosh, I mean, I guess I don't really know because until we go through it, we don't really know. There's lots of theories and speculation, but I guess one thing I could say is that I guess I've seen from I guess a different perspective past life regressions. So maybe some people think they're hokey, maybe some people think they're cool, but this is just something I've experienced. Like I think one common thing in like the ones that I've done is that like so you could take somebody back and they will have gone through this like horrific death that they're remembering or experiencing, and then something happens and then they're leaving their body and then there's this common thing where they just go somewhere, but it's like the difference, and it's like this horrific experience that they were just through. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter. And then, but it's like where they kind of travel to. Like I've seen so many people just get so emotional and just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. So, and again, but there's never a lot of like details like what it was or where it was, but it was just this somewhere. And then it was kind of review, and then off to the next part of wherever. So that was,
Right.
I found that kind of interesting. So definitely, more research to get some longevity in that. But
I think the subject itself is just very fascinating to study. And
Right.
you
It
talk about
is.
and if you talk about NDEs, the people who've had near death experiences,
Right.
right? There you have to like listen to them at least a little bit, right? Because they said I died 3 times and I saw stuff, and so that's another
Right.
interesting subject that and it's really fascinating to listen to somebody like that speak and their
Mhm.
experience. Because I find it personally fascinating, very fascinating for those
Right.
who had those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna throw a little bit in there, I guess, to kind of play the other side of the fence with that. And
Yeah.
this is another part where I don't want it's struggle a little bit. I think I would say is I hear that when you die, you get a massive wave of DMT in your brain.
Sure.
So to me, learning that DMT is a psychedelic that people use as a psychedelic, what if you're just like the last thing you remember is a crazy trip?
right.
Right. All right.
Sure.
Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's what you're getting, when you have that near death experience is your body's hitting you with that DMT hit so you don't feel the death or you don't see, the death. And
Right.
maybe that's why people get lost in the spiritual world is because they didn't see themselves die. They didn't see the end. And
Right.
maybe that's part of, the passing on, but also who's to say? That's just another way of
Mm-hmm.
looking at it from another perspective, I suppose.
And that's really interesting because where does that come from? Where does that DMT come from? Like
From your brain.
it's obviously pre-programmed there
Yeah.
in the
Right.
90% of our brain that we don't use.
Right.
So really, when you think about it, in
Yeah.
theory, we should be able to access it now as conscious beings, right?
That's
Right.
that's that's also
So
another good way to look at it.
it's all
And
those things that just drive me crazy.
and it's almost like if there's like that big DMT hit, babe, it's almost like this distraction from the trauma of what's
Yeah.
happening. So
Sure.
it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
you
Right.
can't handle that. So here, let's look at these pretty pictures over here, and that's
Yep.
Right.
interesting.
So then if you don't have a traumatic end and it was very peaceful, you went to sleep and you just didn't wake up, do you have that same rush of that? Or do
Yeah.
Who
you,
Who
or is
knows?
it
knows?
just
Who
a little
knows?
one? It's like, oh we're just gonna disco party now.
Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
Interesting. The questions that we're
Are you
wondering.
okay, Casey? You keep looking all
There's
around.
there's banging coming above our heads in my office. So
Oh,
that was not the furnace. That was not the furnace. And I don't think there's anybody else upstairs.
What
No.
a
I was
time to
going to
not have
say,
a REM
and
pod.
I know.
uh, if you notice me looking up there's a bug in a light,
Oh.
and I keep
I'm
hearing
like,
it. And I see
Mo, you hear it too?
it, right.
well, my printer stopped going off and on, so maybe it moved to your
Right.
office.
It traveled. It
It's
traveled.
Zoom
Yeah.
traveling.
No, it's just really all that stuff is really interesting to me because like we should be able to access it, right? When you think about also the people who astral travel, like that's a real
Right.
thing. Like people have
Yes.
written books on it and not to get conspiratorial, but the government actually wrote about it and
Right.
they
It's like
used people
remote
in the
viewing.
70s. Like it's a
Yeah.
real thing, documented,
Right.
heavily documented thing that they would use astral travel and astral projection in order to
And
get what
remote
they want and
viewing.
remote viewing and all this stuff.
Right.
So it's just a really interesting things like how there's a lot of people who can tap into it very easy. And I've read a lot of stuff and I've tried and maybe I've done it. I don't remember. You know what I mean? But it's just it's
I'm
it's
getting goosebumps talking about this.
it's really cool, right? It's just really
Well,
awesome. It's so
I
neat.
I think that I've done it a lot actually, not intentionally, because I've had a lot and it used to happen actually the most at my last job. Is we'd be going places like we need to go into like a boiler room or like down certain hallways that you don't have public access to, right? Not saying nobody gets back there, but just there's no public access. You need a key card or something, right? Never been to these buildings in my life, and every time we've went to it, I've been there before in a dream, like the exact, like we walked down the hallway, and it gave
Crazy.
me goosebumps at my last
Yeah.
job before even doing this stuff, and it's happened a little bit even here, but I really do see where I'm gonna be, and then for like 6 months, I'm like, where is this place at? When am I gonna see it? And then all of a sudden I see it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I could walk around here without any guidance. So I really, I don't know. It's very interesting for you to bring that up because
It's cool.
I've
It is
experienced it, but
cool.
I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
There's not any like thing that I do before bed to explain how it happens or
Yeah. I know. And for me, it's somehow accessing that 90% of the brain that we were programmed not to use. And
Hmm.
I want all of it.
yeah.
It's just really interesting. And we think about
Right.
also like out of body experiences, right? That's sort of another thing, right? And I've had a few of those uh in my life. And it was one of those moments where you stop dead where you are and it's like you're viewing yourself from above your body. You know what I mean? And so that's
Right.
another interesting thing.
Right.
And a lot of the NDE people, the near death experience people, talk about that, where they're
Hmm.
laying on the
Right.
hospital bed or wherever they're at, and
Right.
they're suddenly they see themselves laying in the bed. So
Right.
it's all really interesting stuff. So I mean, really don't know what happens to us when we die, but we can speculate about everything, you know?
Right.
It's crazy. Now, uh, to kind of like segue onto the next thing, this is so we're talking about what happens when we die. Like, why do some spirits get stuck? Like, what happens? What do you think happens? Why are they stuck where they are? Why are they,
I
you
think
know?
they're stuck because they were so afraid of being judged that
Hmm.
Sure.
this is where they're going to hang out.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's kind of part of, to tag along to what I was saying earlier, is I think that's part of like you being maybe a new soul,
Right.
is like Mo just said, you're afraid of being judged. You don't know what's next. So you don't want to go maybe into the light where you go to like a game room or something and get to pick the next game or get to pick, your next character or whatever. I know that sounds stupid like video games, but it could be a real thing where you're just prolonging that process and just sticking around.
And you bring up a good point though, because we've tried it. Uh, you try to send something to the light, right? But what's on the other side of that light? No one knows. And I don't think the spirits know either. And they're like, what the hell? You ain't sending me there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also think with the case of human spirits too, I think maybe if the passing was really like fast or traumatic, I think just maybe even not realizing
Yeah.
that that separation from the physical body has happened, and they're like,
Yeah.
why is nobody
Right,
talking to me right now?
Like in a car accident or something,
Yeah.
a sudden
right.
happens and then they just go whoosh and that nothing,
And
And another interesting thing is like unfinished business. Like
I'm doing a podcast. I'll talk
maybe
to you later.
some have unfinished business. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe there's something that they were meant to do, but they know they've passed and they still feel like they need to finish that goal
or like
or
revenge or
revenge or yeah, or something like that. So that's
Mhm.
also interesting too. Like there could be that sort of unfinished business thing. Yeah.
Right. And I
So,
think as a spirit, you don't realize that well, you're in the ether or whatnot. But let's say you're going to hang around for revenge, right?
Hmm.
And this person's walking by and you're fucking punching him and carrying on, and nothing's happening to him, right? And you're like frustrated as can be. I think that you hang around in hopes of one day I'm going to catch this SOB, I'm going to be able to punch him or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
that could be. So for me, with my daughter passing away, her unfinished finished business was her family.
Right.
And she was here with us, and I could tell she was here with us. Um, First of all, because she was at the funeral home when we went to get the flowers. And like I said, I can't feel it, but the spray that was on her casket moved when we were picking up the flowers. There was no wind, there was no breeze, there was nothing in there. So I knew she was there. Her kids were here. She was here with us, and she was here with me for a while. And then they moved to Japan. And I started not, I would try to talk to her. I was using the rods. I would try to talk to her, and she wasn't here. Um, I'll tell you my quick story just because. Um, so I was driving to Walmart, and one of the songs we picked for Jacqueline was Always Something There to Remind Me. And it was playing as I'm going to Walmart. And I'm like, oh, Jacqueline, is that you? Are you going to Walmart with me? And I get to Walmart, and the next song that comes on is Send Me an Angel. And I said, are you going to send me an angel? And didn't think much of it. Got out, went to Walmart, blah, blah, blah. Came home, tried to talk to her, and she wasn't here. And but somebody was here because somebody was talking to me. And I said, are you the angel that Jacqueline sent to watch over me? And they said, yes. And from that point on, I said, is Jacqueline in Japan with her kids? And that says yes. And that's kind of who's been here. So every time I try to talk, whoever's here now is the angel. Now, I don't know if that's real or whatever, but that's the unfinished business that she had because she wasn't ready yet. I'm sorry, but that's kind of where I have to go because I don't know anybody else that's really passed away. Now, my mom
Yeah.
passed away and she's never here.
Right.
She's never been here, but Jacqueline has been here. And when the kids were here, I wasn't sure if it was good or bad. We talked to her, and it was just a form of peace for them that they could actually still communicate with her. So I don't know, whatever that means.
Yeah.
That was her unfinished business, I guess.
Yeah. Wow.
But now I'm going way back to earlier tonight. See, you see, there is stuff that you can't feel, but you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do,
Yeah.
right?
See?
and
Use it.
I don't know
Thank
that I
you.
Mhm.
would have known all of that without being in the group. So I was thankful for that because I had that.
Mhm.
So that was very helpful.
Yeah.
But and I yeah, it just that's just where we are. So, but I'll keep you posted when she comes back. I'll let you know because she does talk to me.
That's awesome.
Right?
That's great. Yeah.
And and I'm a big believer of I think there's a difference between like spirits who are stuck here or like earthbound as we call them, or those that are like I just want to come back and visit and interact. And so it's almost like it's like on their choosing versus those who are like I cannot leave. And
Right.
I think maybe what's seen a lot is the ones who cannot leave. I think those are the ones that get like really grouchy and angry over
Right.
time
Oh,
versus the
yeah.
ones that are like, I'm communicating with my loved ones and I'm watching over them and checking in on them and going wherever they need to go. Um, but yeah, but it seems like the real stuck ones are like the scared, angry, grouchy.
Or like so like when we go to the Adams house in WE,
Right.
we know he's there.
Mm-hmm. But I
He's
think they
just
just love that
there.
house.
Yeah, he's there. And
Well,
Mary, I mean, she'll say that, we've talked to her many times.
it's
Um,
just like Mildred, but we know that she died in like 1968 or 69. She was an old lady, but she comes back to the Adams when she was little.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Because, and I've heard this. Now I don't know where I years ago, but when you're a ghost, let's say, you go back to when you were happiest,
Yeah.
and she might have been happiest at the house,
Mm-hmm.
I would be happy at that house.
right?
Huh. Me too.
Right?
Wow. Yeah, me too. Yeah. So now there's an interesting thing what Nan brought up. I really like this, and I think it lends to the next part. And this is an interesting debate. This has been debated for a really long time. Good versus evil, right? And that dichotomy of you know, not everything that scratches you or growls at you is a demon, right?
Right.
It's I mean that's just the way it is, right? How do we tell the difference with that? How do we tell the difference between a demon and somebody that may just be angry? Like Nan said, you know what I mean? Those that do feel
Right.
stuck and frustrated that they can't go anywhere.
Or
I
somebody
think
that's
that's
just trying to get your attention and you're
Yeah.
not paying attention
right.
to them. I
Yeah.
need
Right.
you to know I'm here.
Yeah.
Right. I think you guys hit it on the head. I think that people that are stuck, they're going to they're angry and whatnot, right? Because they can't move on, or they won't move on, and they're just angry at the world for lack of better terms, right? And those are the things that scratch you and knock your hat off and all kinds of goofy stuff, right? Demons, on the other hand, I think demons are more underhanded. They get into your psyche, and it like we're all of us are happy-go-lucky people, pretty much. All of a sudden, we're down in the dumps for no reason. You gotta kind of what is happening,
Yeah. And
and
Well,
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I guess our recent experience with that in Casey, we walked to that area that we were clearing, and Casey was just like immediately wanted to just got upset. Basically, you were very like not happy with us, but that was coming from getting deeper inside of things of the spiritual side of things, but also just yeah, it's very interesting to see how fast it just switches, especially for Casey,
and I'll tag on to that a little bit, because if you go into a place like you said, Mo, and you suddenly feel agitated or not yourself, that's not necessarily a
Right,
demon, right?
right,
It could just be an attachment of some soul who's angry
and
already,
you're
and
feeling that.
you've already put yourself in a low vibration frequency, right? So then you
Right,
come down to their level and they attach, right? And so then you
right,
feel what they're feeling. And you're right, Zach. I felt quite a few of those. I felt many of those. But yeah, it's not necessarily a demon, right?
right.
I think I don't think that I've ever seen a demon or
Yeah,
experienced anything like that. I've
Mhm.
seen things that may look like it, maybe, right?
right,
On some things, but I wish I could give a concrete answer of how to tell the difference, right? I know
Right.
that there's angry
there is
spirits.
none.
Yeah, and I know there's good spirits, and it's like we have two brains almost, right? We've got this one and we've got our gut, right?
Right,
And the I'm starting to listen to the gut brain more, right? And if the gut brain
right,
tells me that I shouldn't be in this room, I'm
right,
I'm probably going to listen to that a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's, an evil spirit coming to, take my soul,
right,
that type of thing. So
right.
I I I don't have a
But your little
concrete answer.
caveman brain is saying, "Get the hell out of here."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think it's
well,
really important to be able to discern between, like, especially if you're someone, maybe you're experiencing things in your home, like, I think, and again, you don't want to discredit how you're feeling and like what you're
Right,
sensing on one hand, but on the other hand you have to be really discerning between this might be something like truly negative or evil versus I just feel uncomfortable or this is different or strange or unusual. I
Hmm.
think that's a big key factor.
Yeah.
right.
so I don't know a whole lot about it, and I guess I'm bringing it to the group as kind of more of a question. What do you think? Have you dealt with, like, have we, or any of you on the team, been on an investigation where wherever the building was or whoever you were dealing with dealt in, like, I guess, black magic is the best way to put it, or like, the darker side of things. Do you think you could get a demon from that, like trying to summon one and get that, versus where a lot of the stuff we deal with, I feel like, is kind of like people that stop in on the highway at the gas station. They're just kind of passing through a
Right.
little bit,
Right.
whereas something's like, I want this bad energy here. I guess I don't know how to question that, or just kind of putting that in there. What's your guys'
I
take? And
I think some
I
ideas.
think.
Oh, go ahead,
Go
Mo.
ahead.
Okay, I think some ideas behind that. I think if there were, again, I don't know for absolute certain, but from what I understand, if there were spots where maybe there was some like darker ritualistic magic stuff done that could potentially like open up like a doorway or a portals for stuff to come through. And maybe again, who knows what came through? Was it closed? Was it not? So I think it opens that potential for it more. That's my understanding.
Right. And I also think people that don't know what they're doing, like when they're playing with Ouija boards, pendulums, cards,
Hmm.
whatever, dowsing rods, it doesn't matter. Um, I think people that don't know what they're doing, they're inviting stuff in. And when you invite stuff in, everything and their brother is coming, everything but the
Hmm.
kitchen sink, right? And if it's a lower, like you said, lower vibrational spirit that's into sadness and stuff, it's gonna glom onto you. And I think and then once they find out I don't know who they are, but once they find out what scares you, they're gonna keep doing it
Yeah.
because they're getting a charge out of that.
Because that's their food.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of it has to do also with intention, right?
Right.
Mhm.
If somebody is going to go in somewhere with a Ouija board for the purposes of causing chaos, it's going to bring nothing but dark chaos.
Chaos. Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Exactly.
Especially if they don't know what they're doing, right? If they're
Right.
like, I've seen people do Ouija boards on dares and all of these things,
Right.
and that is really
Right.
irresponsible. And like we as a
Right.
team, we will not even come close to a Ouija board because I mean,
Well, we have, but
I
we've
mean,
done
we
it
have before,
safely.
but we've done
Mo
it
Mo owns three of them.
well. You can
Safely.
you can hang on to your
Safely
Ouija
doing
boards,
the
Mo.
Ouija boards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
safely.
will we would safely do it under supervision of somebody who's
Yes.
knowledgeable about that sort of thing, right? But
Right.
personally, by myself, I would never touch a Ouija board by myself. Like
No,
I
I won't
just
even use one by myself. No.
no, it's just one of those things. But I know there are people will, there are people are, and it's
Right.
all about intentions. If they're like, oh, this isn't really going to be real, let's see what happens. You know what I mean? And they put that in
Hmm.
there into the Ouija
Right.
board.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah,
Be
the
careful.
famous thing is FAFO. You know what I mean?
Right. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, careful what you wish for. So I think a lot
Right.
of that has to do with intention too.
Hmm.
I think another thing, kind of, talking about the whole good and evil thing. I think another thing is Hollywood, and
Mm,
they've kind of
for
Right.
sure.
made the because again, like I said before, me coming from an entity release background, like yes, I believe in the whole demonic side of things. But again, what I think we're so conditioned to look when we hear demonic, we think of this big, scary thing with horns, and your head's going to start spinning, and you're going to start backwards, Spidey walking down some stairs. And I mean, from it's not necessarily like that. Again,
No.
from the entity release side of things, like there's a lot of belief that there's like a hierarchy. So I think
Right.
the things that would be that level of intensity, I don't think you're going to run into it that often in the
No.
paranormal world,
No.
but I think it's like the lower level, these darker energies, these energetic parasites that
Right.
they want that fix, that food, and so they try to manipulate things to get that. Um,
And
Hmm.
And I
Hollywood does a
think
wonderful job
right.
of preying on the fears of the human condition
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
because they know what people are afraid of, and so they use that as fuel, and
People go
it's an
pay money to watch that
and
stuff.
it's an energy harvest. Let's be real,
Right.
right? It's an
Right.
energy harvest for those dark entities, whatever they may be, right? That's just what it is. I mean, it's just one of those things. They prey on that fear, and that's
Hmm.
what it's all comes down to. And you won't see a Reagan come out of the.
Don't say
No.
never, but
Okay, maybe you will.
maybe less likely.
I may never not see one in my lifetime.
I'd be okay with that.
So I would be just fine with that. Somebody sits up in bed and their head twists all the way around. I'd be just
And they
fine
spit
never
pea
seeing
soup and like, forget
Yeah.
it.
Right?
Yeah. So very interesting. Yeah. Were you going to say something too, Leann?
No, I just the I'm a happy ghost person. So, whenever we go into places, I'm never never thinking even if the customer, the client is reporting that, oh, this is horrible and it's really bad and I think it's a demon, whatever.
Right.
I'm never thinking that when we go in. I'm always
No.
thinking there, I'm sure there's going to be something here, but I never think that we're ever going to run into anything like that. I just the evil stuff. I mean, grumpy. Yeah. I mean, we've done grumpy for sure, but evil, I just I never think that ever.
The other thing is, in the paranormal community, there's a lot of running around screaming demon
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
with
Yes.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
99.9% of the time, it is probably not demonic.
Yeah.
It is just
Exactly.
somebody is scared of something or doing it for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I've
And
been doing this
that's the frustrating
since,
part as a paranormal
right.
investigator.
Yes.
Like, been into a lot of weird situations where I felt
Right.
very uncomfortable, but never once was I going to scream demon.
No.
It just,
No.
yeah, I don't know.
And you would think, like, I've been in this business since 2007, right? I have never ran into anything demonic, at least as far as I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the law of averages would state if they're as prevalent as everybody says, I would have ran into like countless numbers of them.
Yeah.
No, I ran into some angry
Sure.
spirits or whatnot, but
Yeah, sure.
nothing I would scream demonic on.
No,
Mm-mm.
no. And I know, does that answer any of your question that you had, Zach? We kind of went off on a wild goose chase there.
I don't know that it does, honestly, and I don't mean that, in a bad way, but it sounds like maybe there's the darker side of things that I'm thinking of isn't really out there as much, but I maybe just nobody's experienced it,
Yeah. And I think maybe that's it. Maybe we none of us on the team have ever experienced something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's definitely out there, but
Yeah.
I just can't say I've personally
Right.
run into something like that dark, that negative.
yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I like what you said parasites. Like way back early on tonight, when Zach was talking about somebody that feels like being watched, like there's watchers, right? And that's all they do. But they could be parasites too. They're just waiting for their chance to come in and glom onto you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. Because
Yeah.
maybe they didn't like, or for instance, an alcoholic, right, goes to a bar,
Right.
and bars are one of the places where a lot of those kind of entities hang out because that's where they're
Right.
comfortable. If you
Right.
drink a lot, right, it lowers your vibrational frequency. So then
Right.
those spirits who had alcohol problems in the past will latch
As
on
I'm having a beer.
to. I'm not saying you can't, right? I'm just saying heavily, right? Those people
Right. Right.
who use it to cope, right?
Right.
And that sort of thing, right? They will attach, those entities will attach and amplify that and cause more chaos. It doesn't mean they're demonic, right? It just
Right.
means that that is all they know.
Right. And
And so that's
Leann's
where
going to
they go.
remember this. You guys won't. Ricky Good Voice Flute, right? And that there was the guy when we were filming. Uh, He was downtown. He was in Rapid, Deadwood, and he was pointing out. He says that dude has got a demon on his back. That
Oh yeah.
guy's got a demon in his back because they were alcoholics, and that's exactly what he was seeing. He was seeing like he called them demons, but you know, I don't know what they are. Spirits maybe, but
An
they're like
attachment of
parasites. They're
some
just
kind.
glum
Yeah.
on, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Some sort of attachment. Yeah.
And he could see them.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, another interesting thing we talk about when we talk about there's a lot of things happening in the paranormal community with, people screaming demons when, probably there's not, entertainment purposes only. Just an
Right.
interesting thing that I'd love to talk about, especially because uh, there's a lot of experience on this team, right? Specifically, Mo's got a lot, Leann's got a lot. But discussing maybe some like ethics and responsibilities that we may have as a paranormal investigators, right? We don't necessarily need to be taught screaming demon, right? Those aren't just the things, right?
No.
Uh,
No.
like maybe like just some interesting questions. I don't know if we're going into a space, right? And asking all these questions and getting these entities to do something for us, are we infringing on their spiritual free will? Does that make
No.
sense?
Yes. Yes, it does. But I don't think we're infringing on their free will because they don't have to interact with us if they don't want to.
Yeah, true.
Mhm.
True. Very
Also,
true.
we as a group we don't provoke because picture this: you're in your house, you're hanging out, and a bunch of people come in. They're screaming at you to do all kinds of parlor tricks, right? And you'd be like, "Fuck off," right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Hmm.
Sure. Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
Respect is the word that
Exactly.
we use. We want to be
Exactly.
respectful. And I don't I again I don't think we're infringing on their free will. In the locations that we're going to, people are inviting us in because something has made itself known. And so for that, it feels like they want us to know they're there. So it's
Right.
not like we're hiding, when we're trying to pull them out. We don't go into a house and say, okay, like we're going to pull everything out. We're going into locations that have already had experiences. So we are just trying to talk to whoever's there that has made themselves known. So
Right.
I don't, it doesn't feel like we're infringing. We are always respectful when we go into places. We're not judgmental. We just go in and try to chat with whoever's there.
And I said this I on a previous cast or whatever. Uh, all hell might be breaking loose. These people are calling us and they are genuinely afraid, right? Now it's our job to go in and we're going to debunk first. Like it might be a squirrel nest in your attic or whatnot, right? Or it might be something, right? Where was I going with this? Where was I going? Sorry.
About free
Free
will,
Oh,
will, yeah.
right,
Infringing.
right.
ethics.
Yes. And but and something's bothering these people, right? So they call us, right? We go in. But nothing might happen on that night. We might get absolutely nothing but crickets. But the next day, all proverbial hell might break loose again. Now, we're there for a small snapshot in time, and they live in these their businesses 365 days a year, 24/7, right? And we're there for one day, 6, 7 hours. I think we're fortunate that stuff does happen when we're there, but I can't, I can't be weirded out if it doesn't. I can't provoke like, okay, you big bad SOB, nothing's happening, so I'm gonna be a turd basically,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I don't think
No,
is right.
that all makes sense. And I agree with that. And I like that we don't provoke. Um,
Right.
specifically because F around and find out. You know what I mean? I just don't want
Right,
that to
right,
be the
right,
case, right?
right.
I don't want that to be a thing. And so kind of tagging on to that, as investigators, we collect evidence, right, in order to prove or
Right.
disprove something. But I think it's also interesting, like to think about should we be in addition to or instead of, in some cases, should we be offering some type of blessing or offerings or guidance of some kind instead of or in addition to collecting all this evidence?
I think more research has to be done because, for instance, let's say we have a spirit that's Tibetan Buddhist, and all our values and all our rituals and stuff are based in Christianity. They're going to be like, "What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm not, I'm not going to do anything."
Yeah, very, very true. Very interesting. And I think that there, in some cases, in us being in the Black Hills, right, with
Right,
all of the Native American cultures,
right,
a big thing is offerings to the land, right? So if you
right.
go someplace and that is the case, you can offer things like tobacco and,
Yep,
different herbs and things like that. So
right,
I guess it also depends on kind of where you are and the
right,
situation at hand. This is
right.
kind of how I think
Hmm.
about that.
Well, I think
No,
tying
that
into
makes
that,
sense. That makes sense. Oh,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Leann.
I would say tying into that and also kind of tying into the free will, I think maybe rather than, like, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but like, I think it would impose on the free, like you said, is it imposing on the will of the free will of the spirits? Like, I think if it was like, you are getting out of here, you're going to the light, this is what you're doing. I think sometimes
Right,
you need to offer them the choice if they want to go or not. Now,
right,
on the other hand, if they're causing a problem for the living person here on Earth, that's imposing on the human's free will. So it's like,
right,
well, you can't stay here. Like, you don't have to go into the light, but you're not staying here. But
right.
so I think there's a lot of that. I think you need to give them some options, give them some choices. And maybe, again, maybe we don't know, like if it's say if it is something clearing or crossing over, maybe it doesn't have to be so specific, but maybe you call in their traditions or their ancestors or guides and the way that to be, so it's done in the way that's most appropriate to them. Good to something to consider if you're like helping someone cross
Yeah,
or whatever
Right,
the process is
yeah,
happening.
right. But
Mhm.
you'd have to know what their belief system is.
That's the thing. Or
Mhm.
unless you could just like again, if you're like, we need you to get out of here, but let's call on your team that could do it in the way that it needs to be done.
yeah.
I
Right,
don't know. I think
right.
there's a lot of stuff to
Mhm.
consider, but
I'm curious to hear from the newest member of the team on this subject and what you think of that.
Hmm. That's kind of,
I know it's like a big, broad question.
yeah, I guess kind of what, I don't know how to. Do you have a more specific question? I guess.
Like, uh,
well, I guess I think the question started off with should we just be collecting evidence
yeah,
or should there be this prayerful sending off, blessing something along
yeah,
with it or instead?
I would think that would depend on what you're dealing with,
yeah.
Mhm.
What do you
bottom
think,
I
line,
Hank?
because a lot of times, hold on, guys, but a lot of times people are afraid, and then you finally you capture evidence and you put a face on it, basically, for a lack of better terms, and then the people are fine with it.
Right.
Yeah,
And I've ran into that countless times.
yeah,
Yep.
I think there's a lot of variables to the situation, and that makes it kind of harder for us, I guess, because I don't know, I feel like some situations we can handle, but other situations are kind of like, mm, do we want to
Right.
handle it?
Exactly.
Are we prepared enough? Do we know enough? As a team, are we
Right.
prepared enough? Because we're all individually at different, points with this stuff, and that's I feel like the research part is great for us, you know, and like we do, it's case by case basis. Um,
Right.
but like you were saying with, you know, it being maybe a different spiritual belief on whoever the person is and, you know, calling on their beliefs, I think there's something to be said about that too, but how do you figure that out?
Right.
Right. Right.
Unless you, yeah, because we always go in wanting to know who we are dealing with. Who are you?
Right.
What
Mhm.
do we get the answers very often that are very specific
No.
and no,
And
no,
then
There's
as
if
got to be
much
an
as
unwritten
we
rule.
try. We
Yeah,
if you
there's
guess
get
a
got to be
answers,
lot.
can you
on the
trust
other
it?
side. There's got to be an unwritten rule that they can't say their names, or they forgot them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or they give us a lot of generic names.
Right.
Jimmy, Bob, Tom, Mike,
Or
Bill.
or or then you get the tricksters,
Right.
right?
Right.
Which has happened, I think, quite a few times in
Yes.
our cases,
And to be
right?
Yep.
fair,
And
how do anything that we get,
yeah,
anything that we get, we are guessing on every, we call it evidence. We have evidence that something happened, but we, we don't know. I mean, it could be anybody,
yeah,
you know.
Hmm.
yeah,
That's exactly the what we have to deal with and where we are every time we walk into an investigation.
yeah,
Hmm.
We
yeah,
leave and go, I don't know.
And I
We
think,
love it.
Right.
We
and
keep
also,
going back because we love it.
mhm. And I think too, a big part of it is even like what that spirit is capable of. Because I've seen some discussion recently with some other paranormal groups, and something's come up again, like the whole like again, like someone would go into a location and they got hit or scratched or something thrown at
Hmm.
them, and then it's like, oh, it's evil, it's demonic. But then another way to frame that is, what if that's the only way this entity knows how to try to communicate with you? They're like,
Hmm.
everything else I tried isn't working, so I'm going to scratch you and then I'll get your attention. That doesn't mean they're bad. So I think it's like,
Right.
yeah, like
yeah,
what is like where are they coming from? What is their like what if they're just
yeah,
trying to get your attention that way and that's all they know
Hmm.
how to
Right.
do?
yeah.
Or is it kind of like a person by person? Like,
Right.
ooh, we like this person better than this person.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
like it's like our equipment. Like some entities, like the
Oh,
periscopes, for instance, and that's all
right.
they're going to react to.
Mm-hmm.
Some might like a REM pod or a pyramid, and that's all they're going to react to.
So
Yeah.
here's kind of a question to throw out, and I wonder this sometimes, like, because again, kind of like, what do you notice? So, is there something that when you become a spirit, you understand how this equipment works? Because if you were to tell me as a person to be like, make this periscope do things, I could not tell you how it works, what it's built of. I have no idea. So I'm like, is there something that if I died, I would be like, oh, I get this now? Like, I wonder about like, does
They've
it,
got they've got
is there
they've
some,
got paranormal 101 courses on the other side
Yes.
Right.
that they put all the ghosts through. That's what happens. Now, they're gonna ask you how to use this, and this is how you do it so you can give them a little response.
Right. Right.
Right.
so, I don't
That's a
know.
really interesting question, though. That is really interesting.
That was
Yeah.
a really good
For
one.
like speak through this radio, I'm like, I wouldn't know how to speak through this radio right now, but if you know,
But
Yeah.
see,
cool. But
that's how we ask stuff because
mm-hmm,
like K2s and stuff, obviously your EMF detectors are going to detect anomalies, right?
mm-hmm.
Periscopes operate on static, so all it just has to walk by,
Just
and
has
then
to
it's going
walk
to light
by.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same
So
with the periscopes, or not the periscope, but the paranormal music box. It's like a garage beam.
Right.
yeah,
Just stand in front of it. So
We try to give it direction. We try to tell
right,
it how to do it,
Right.
but
right,
do they? But they're just very smart.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. They're they passed all their classes
They did.
beyond the
right,
veil. Yeah.
right,
At Beyond the Veil University. No, I'm kidding.
How to
right,
spirit box.
How does spirit box? So there's an interesting question that then comes
right,
up with spirit boxes, right?
right.
Uh, are we truly allowing the spirits to communicate to us, right? Uh, or are we opening doors that maybe we shouldn't? Like, what do you think about this spirit box thing, right? Because that takes a lot more energy to do, right, for this entity. But is it something, is it just them talking to us? Is it us opening doors? Is it kind of like a Ouija board? You know what I mean? Does that make
So,
sense?
so
I
when
don't
You
we
can.
I don't mean to
recently,
interrupt, but I gotta use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. But I also think, just before I do that, I think that maybe we're kind of stealing the
Do
You
do.
conversation.
you said doo doo. You said doo doo.
Exactly.
You guys are ridiculous.
well,
Ridiculous. But I think that part of that, when we're doing that, is like we're stealing their conversation maybe. And that's some thought to give to it too, you know?
Right.
Interesting.
Interesting.
But I'll be right back.
Okay.
so the spirit box sessions we've had lately, we have we have transitioned um, during those sessions through more than one entity. And
Right.
that seems to have grown since I remember doing them before. Before
Right.
we were getting just very brief one word answers, and now we've been getting phrases, but we cycled through and we can feel and hear the difference when those entities change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very interesting
Well,
to hear that
there's
because we had
yeah.
the spicy one that for 3 nights showed up at the Adams house.
It's true.
And he was the sassy one. He was a little whoop, whoop, and you could tell the minute he started talking. When I say he, it started talking. It was completely different conversation that was coming out. It was so interesting to hear that this time.
And I think at the last location we were at, it was, I mean, it was probably harder for Mo and Casey because you guys were in the spirit box, but it was almost like there was these two that were fighting
Oh
each other
yeah,
and they were just ignoring the rest of us. They were just going
right?
at
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Mhm.
And so that kind of tacks onto what Zek said, right? That maybe this frequency is just picking up on a conversation already happening within whatever realm that it is, right? So that
Right.
could potentially be what it is.
Right.
Well,
And
I
so
only
then,
oh, sorry,
go,
go ahead.
go, no, you go ahead.
The only reason I say that I feel like maybe it's like we're stealing the conversation is it's because like you can't use those radios that you dial in to like the hertz or whatever. I'm speaking, I don't know a whole lot about this, but I know there's like radios you can't use anymore because you can actually listen to phone conversations because you
Right.
dial into the frequency that's traveling across. And I wonder if that similar situation that's going on is that like we talk at a certain frequency, right? But when you use a dog whistle, you can't hear it because it's such a higher frequency, but
Right.
dogs can hear it, you know? Maybe it's something
Right.
similar that we're
Sure.
just picking up on that frequency of
Mhm.
the waves traveling. Who knows?
Well, and then to add
I
on
think
to that,
that's. Oh, go ahead.
so to add on to that, if you are picking up on something, could that also explain why the spirit box, like being the listener receiver, comes easier for some people than others?
Oh yeah, I struggle.
Me
I
Interesting.
too.
I
I
I
get
couldn't get
nothing.
it.
Yeah.
And
I
but some
tried.
people are like zoned in.
Yeah.
Yep.
What were you going to say, Mo?
I um, oh my God. What was Zach talking about?
About a conversation,
Picking up on
reflecting in a
Conversation.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I do think when you're talking about dog whistles, right? EVPs, right? We all know what EVPs are. We pick them up on our audio recorders. We don't hear them. And I think it's because the frequency is so high that we don't pick it up.
Hmm.
But conversely, we've all heard them, a disembodied voice. Casey and I heard one in the last investigation we just did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
And
that's
those
it's just
those
a really interesting thing to think about.
right,
Yeah.
right,
It's really interesting that all of the degrees of communication
right,
that we experience.
Hmm.
right,
So that some are able to do that and some aren't able to do that. So then they do this and
right,
they can't do that. So they do this. And Yeah, it's just mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah. There's a lot of fascinating stuff, and we've kind of touched on a lot of that
Yes.
tonight, which is really, really cool. Uh, I maybe just have just like one more kind of question maybe before we kind of wrap things up.
Because
Um,
it's been 2 hours.
but it's been a really awesome conversation. This has been
Right,
my
right,
favorite so far. I love this.
right.
Um, so we talked about, and I know I've had this, we talked a little bit about it, about attachments and things like that, and protecting ourselves and yada, yada, yada. But I know I had this question once at the Adams house. Can spirits follow you home? And I think for me, the short
Yes,
answer is absolutely 100% they can follow you home.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that's why we do the smoke downs
Yeah.
because we don't want stuff to follow us. Because I had something years ago follow us into this house, follow me home.
Yeah.
My kid had moved out because I'm in his room right now. And anyway, when he would get mad and throw a fit, he would slam his door, right? And me and my wife were in the living room. We're the only people in the house. And we heard 3 doors down here where the bedrooms are slam. So I get up and I walk. All the doors are open, nothing slammed. But I went up front and in my little voice, I said, I don't care if you're here, but you're going to help clean. And that did it. That never came back again.
That would do it.
Uh, uh,
That'll do it.
Peace. Uh-uh.
Like, nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
that tells me it may have been like an adolescent spirit. You know how they are in
Right,
cleaning.
right,
You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
right,
They're like,
right,
Oh
right.
yeah.
I'm at. Dad just told me to clean. I'm leaving. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, I know from experience that things can follow you home if you're not careful. You know what I mean? Like if you
right,
and specifically from other people and their, and energy clearings and all of that stuff, right? And
right,
things have attached to me, and followed me places. So yeah,
right.
absolutely, 100% it happens.
Yeah, we've had other people who aren't on the team anymore have had many
Yep,
experiences of things following them home. I have not, or I didn't
right,
know it.
Yeah.
I think absolutely yes. Um, and I think that is, and I mean, I think it's another conversation for another day, but it gets a lot more complex than you're just walking down the street and oops, an attachment just happens
Right.
upon you and it's stuck to you now.
right,
But I think that's where a big thing where intentions and boundaries come in. Because one
right,
thing that I found a lot is sometimes these things, it's like a loophole of like, again, if it's about consent and permission, but sometimes they're like, well, they didn't say no, so that's
right,
it's a yes. So again, that
right.
that overt boundaries of like, you cannot attach, you cannot
Yeah,
follow me
And,
home, I think is important.
it's important. Yeah.
Whether you have
and I
crystals or
think,
whatever, but just a little tense.
right. But I also think a lot of times, like when we're doing public venues, like the public is coming with us, right? We don't know what people are bringing in. And it
Yeah.
might jump off them and it decides to jump on us,
Hmm.
Yeah.
monkey on our back. And these people are going out the door when they're done. They're like happy go lucky. And we're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yes. So, moral of the story, be careful and careful
Yeah.
Right,
what you wish for
right,
because they will follow you home.
right,
Just from experience, they will follow you home.
Well,
So,
if you let
if
them,
you let them,
they
yeah,
can
right,
follow
they
you home.
can. Yeah, absolutely. So, set your intentions, set the boundaries. You are stronger than they are, and just let them know that. Yeah. So, anything else that we want to add to any of this conversation tonight?
Mm,
No, no, I think it was a very good subject.
That's it.
Yeah,
I think we covered it.
I think so too. Yeah, and we will probably never have all the answers, and we'll probably continue to learn
Yes.
forever into infinity,
Oh,
but
Right.
at least this gives us a little bit of idea and teaches us, investigating teaches us a little bit about, life and the afterlife and, what it kind of means to be a human soul, right? And so I think we
Right.
we will continue to learn a lot. I know I've learned a tremendous amount uh, from everyone in this group. So I'm appreciative of that.
We have a great team.
I agree.
We
I
really
agree.
do.
And I think it's only going to get better. And I think that once we start to learn more and start to understand more and do a little bit more research on things, I think we'll be rivaling many others, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
I've done this for a long time, and I'm gonna share something with you. The more you know, the more questions you're gonna have.
The more you
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't
Oh
know.
yeah. Absolutely. 100%. What were you gonna say?
Right.
So I just want to tag on just something that was said earlier, and I meant to say something before. We were talking about like, how there's so much out there in the paranormal community of like the running and screaming demons and the craziness. I think it's also important to note though that there are a lot of really good, respectable, legitimate teams that don't do that
Right.
Oh,
as well, which
absolutely.
Right.
100%.
needs to be acknowledged.
So
But
many, so many amazing, incredible teams out there. And I know for me, I want to be able to be spoken about that same way from these same paranormal teams, that have the respectful
Right.
outlook on investigating and all that stuff. So,
Yep.
yeah. So, uh, amazing. If anybody watching has any, uh, spiritual things that maybe have happened to them in some location, put it in the comments of the video below. We have another episode coming. We're going to talk about equipment. We're going to deep dive into a lot of the equipment that we as investigators use and break down maybe how they work and those types of things. So stay tuned for that. If you have not watched our previous episodes, go back and watch. We introduced ourselves. If you don't know who we are, go watch our first episode. We introduced ourselves
Right.
and how we got on the team, and then watch our other video, our second episode about the Adams House, where we share a lot of our cool stories from this year as well as previous years past. So
And hit the like and subscribe button
that's
if you
right.
haven't already.
Give us a thumbs up, turn on that bell
Yep.
so you get notifications. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you in the next one.